besides that?
Yeah. Well, everyone has been here for what, an hour or so now. I'm
Yeah.
excited to dive in.
Here we go.
Yeah.
These
Okay,
amazing.
guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jenna Blackert,
And I'm Leonka Reyna.
and today we're talking with Aoma, who I've just been talking up because she truly blew my mind with money and meridians. And I was telling them a little bit from, I listened to your hypnosis in the package, and I loved it. And I loved how you had people bring out a dialect and almost had them channel. I just thought it was super cool. We can talk about that later. But really, I think where I wanted to start today was your life experience. You've had quite the profound awakening with with being blind for 3 years and how you have dealt with energies and healing your body and changing energy to help you create a better life. For those that haven't heard the previous interview, will you just go back and share a little bit about your story? Let's just put it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just for everyone who probably are asking right now how you pronounce my name, because that's usually the biggest one. It's Aoma Amaya. And I'm actually a walk-in. So my name was not the name I was given at birth. I've been earthside in this beautiful body since November of 2018. And that's really kind of the point that changed a lot of things. It's when I lost my vision. Before that, there is a tremendous amount of really deep trauma and, a lot of poverty wounds and sexual abuse and neurological, like traumatic brain injuries, and just so many things that a lot of us who have a very advanced spiritual purpose on this planet have navigated through, because it was like, I always tell people I was literally trying to like break my brain open. It's like, it was in this box of conformity for so long that I literally needed like 15 concussions to try to get new neural pathways that haven't been open for humanity open in a really long time.
Mm.
And because of that, a lot of gifts came online for this body at a really young age. But a lot of things have been really deeply focused on the body itself. My philosophy is we're meant to come fully into our body, bring consciousness fully into all the way down to our Earth star, instead of this notion of like, let's ascend out of our bodies and like leave everything behind and get off this Earth. And I think that story serves people at a certain moment, but ultimately to me, it's a trauma story. It's a story of like how challenging it is to be alive at this time. And it's a story of like hopelessness and trying to just like get the fuck out of here as fast as possible, when really life is meant to be lived fully in our body. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So as a walk-in, I have this more unique notion because it has been so deeply like, how do I get into this body? And I navigated a lot of really interesting things because I basically short-circuited my brain when I came in because of the level of neurological trauma that this body had gone through from just youth, sports, horseback riding, and then I was abducted at the age of 7 and implanted, and that was in the brain, and that still to this day has been a really big thing to overcome. Just how my neurocircuitry changed as a result of that implant, even though the implant has been removed, it changed how pathways run in the brain. And so I get these little mini micro bursts of energy that may be called a seizure. I don't call them that because to me, they're not that. It's just energy moving through the body and science not having a context of advanced spiritual awakening in a body, right? So during that period of when I first came in and lost my sight and all these things, I had to figure out really quickly, how do we come into the body? How do we not destroy the body in the process? Because when we're bringing higher consciousness in, we're bringing it like the sun, we're bringing a tremendous amount of energy into a body that potentially hasn't run energy like that in generations in your bloodline, right? So it really is like not only this body, it's my mother and my father and my whole lineage of this body's ancestry and what they've run energetically that is encoded in the epigenetics. So then if I'm coming in and I'm like, yeah, let's bring all this consciousness in and solar consciousness and over, like that's so much energy. And our bodies are like, whoa, I haven't run that kind of energy. I don't know, is it safe to run this kind of energy? And my unique body resulted in this isn't safe. Let's shut down all the systems and let's just collapse. And for me, then it meant now I have to figure out, how do I train a brain to see again? How do I learn how to do basic human functions then this body was 30 years old at the time, so it's like coming in as a walk-in in your 30s versus coming in as an infant. Like I had to learn how and train myself through neurological reorganization, how to walk and talk and do all these things. And it was intense to say the
Yeah.
To say the least. Yeah. Oh, but bless you for coming to share with us nonetheless. Obviously, you have a big mission here and you have been doing that. And when you come here, it can be easy to want to run away from the missions, I feel like, or like me, to forgotten, and then work really hard to remember and work with people like you to do so. Today, you have brought us a new understanding in the package and going through. I thought it was really cute and everything was really, really vibrant and on fire. But it was basically about how to melt away the bullshit, right? It was how to melt away the trauma that insists within that. And we were talking about trauma a little bit earlier today too. So this is a great lead-in for this group. But anyone listening on the new broadcast today, tell us a little bit more about how you got into that as well.
That particular process in the melt away is really working with a lot of neurohypnotic repatterning. And I actually found that modality because I wasn't able to drive for, I lost my sight. I couldn't drive a car, right? You can't drive a car without sight. But afterwards, a part of that story is I actually lost my sight while driving a car in Costa Rica by myself. So I had so much trauma around operating a vehicle. And even after I recovered my sight it took pretty much 16 months of really advanced neurological, like retraining of my brain and eyes, because it wasn't my eyes that weren't working. It was my brain not talking to my eyes anymore. Feeling overwhelmed by how much I could see, because I basically came in was like, I can see everything now, and my brain was like, holy shit, no. I don't want to see all of that. Like, let's shut down vision altogether. So I always tell people when they're like, oh, you have all these, I'm like, be careful what you ask for, because there is a big learning curve, and sometimes it's better to have things come on a little bit slower over time than just to shock your system with all these at once. But anyways, so after I regained my sight, I still wasn't able to drive, and I tried everything. I could not get my body to not come into this terror when I was operating a car. I tried all different types of neurological training, hypnosis, emotion therapy, network spinal, acupuncture, like you name it. I probably tried it because my partner and I are in like professional healing arts. And we have a huge resource around us and where we live of alternative practices, and nothing was getting my body to stop entering into that. And it wasn't my mind. My mind was calm. I was clear. I knew that nothing was going to happen to me. I knew that I was on the other side of this, but my body was just automatically responding in this way where I would have to pull over and my partner would have to take over driving, because I would not be able to go any further.
Wow.
And that's when I found the rapid resolution therapy and had an experience with that with Dr. Connolly, who brought this modality forward, and pretty instantly was able to drive again. And I was like, okay, this is something that I need to now learn and get trained in and understand, because I've tried everything and nothing has been able to shift my body to stop having this reaction. So that's really how I found the methodology that hypnosis is. It's a very unique kind of hypnotic journey that, he's been studying. He's in his 80s, this man who developed it, super rooted, grounded, and it's a lot of consciousness in it as well too, which I found really healing, because I think for a lot of us as well, like when we are navigating a mental health journey, which is what trauma is.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me, I was like, well, I can't go and just talk to a normal therapist. They're going to think I'm like schizophrenic or manic or absolutely crazy and try to put me on all these different things because I'm like, the first question, do you see things that other people can't see? Like, yes, I can. Do you hear things that people can't hear? Yes, I can. Like, do you think you have abilities other people don't have? Yes, I do. Like, boom, check, check, check.
In fact, I'm a walk-in.
Like, you can't just
but it's
show
okay.
up there. Exactly, right? But that would immediately place you into a box in a traditional mental health place that wouldn't get you the help that you needed. And so what I loved about that modality was he was very, very much using light and consciousness through this whole process, even though he wasn't saying those words.
Yeah.
And so there was this opening that I was like, oh, this is safe, right? I can go into this place and be myself, because that's the one biggest thing and that I found in my own trauma healing journey, helping others through their trauma, is if you can't show up and really be yourself and share your whole story, the whole thing, all parts of it that you need to articulate to that facilitator for them to help you understand and break through and integrate it, then you're not going to get results with that facilitator. So it's like, can people hold space for all of this? But yeah, that's kind of how the background story about it.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I also, went probably listened to your previous recording 2 or 3 times just to, it just seemed so deep. You were saying that when you had to quit your job because of your eyesight, that you actually went on a journey where it was almost as if you surrendered and let go and melted away, and your wealth increased that year. And you had some really cool, profound awarenesses on that journey. Can you share a little bit about, take us a little deeper in how you are working on your own body to heal it, and how you were becoming more and more aware that it was almost like money is a construct that is, you were seeing lack in almost anything. Maybe is how I put it.
Yeah. So what's coming through to start this conversation is this understanding that I've realized that whenever I do anything for money, I'm moving from a place of lack. So if I'm putting something out there and launching something because I need to make money, or my goal is X amount of dollars from this launch, then I'm not in that place of complete surrender to the feminine, to that receptivity, and I'm not open, and I'm putting this artificial force into my reality that I'd been using up until that point, being raised by a hyper type A single father, manifesting generator for anyone who's in human design, like go, 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 and a farmer, right? So like this notion of just go, burn yourself out. And as a projector who is not at all working and operating in the same way, I'm like, let me do less and I receive more. I didn't know that in my body. So a part of this health crisis really forced me to have to look at my relationship with money, because at the time it was really toxic. I believed a lot of things about money. I believed a lot of things about people with money, from abuses that happened to me when I was a small child because of money, and just the things that I was seeing in the world, experiencing the world as a result of money. And then add in this whole other narrative of, when you come in here, there's a really deep collective wound around spirituality and money, and charging for your spiritual gifts and creating a business around your soul's light and intelligence, and and being in that space that was also we're a part of the collective. So if you're starting a spiritually oriented business, you're going to face that belief. You're going to have people come in that's like, you shouldn't charge for these services, or would Jesus charge for these services? And I'm like, absolutely. Jesus would be like millions of dollars today. Like he would evolve with the time. That's my belief. That's what I feel and sense and know in my heart. Like he's an ascended being. Like he's not going to be like, yeah, I'm in poverty. Like he's going to be flourishing.
Right.
And
Agreed.
right? It's like, yeah, of course he would. He can materialize anything and like reincarnate himself. Why would he not have the resources? So like shifting a lot of those stories, I had to look at that. And during that time, I was doing a lot of, work with my meridians. As no one who didn't listen to the last talk, I really just wholeheartedly know the power of our meridians, our energy body. Like everything is energy here. And anything that's experienced in our life is happening in our meridian somewhere. And it's going to be a very similar pattern for people if their liver is blocked or if the energy is moving too quickly through their spleen. It may show up in different, it's going to have a different storyline, but the pattern will be the same in anyone with that similar energetic signature. And we could look at this also from the lens of astrology, like why do all Pisces have a similar energy, or why do all Aries show up in a similar way? It's because these are these energetic signatures and they correlate to our meridians as well. So I was doing a lot of somatic work with moving energy through my meridians, a lot of acupuncture and directly working with my meridians, and then a lot of internal processing. Like I tell people I have the mind of a ninja, and I'm constantly going in, and anything that comes up, I question everything inside of myself as well as around myself. And, I'm sure a lot of people here probably were the same, especially as children. We're like, well, why? Why is it this way? Because that's what all of us light leaders do. We come in and we question the system. And probably we're told like, well, stop asking questions. you ask too many questions, all these things, and that stifles that part of us that was actually trying to understand this reality and then break yourself out of the molds.
I do believe that is the path to get out of almost anything, is just to get really, really curious and go, what is this? What is it? Like, I know nothing. What is it? And you always get information. It's very, very fascinating to play and process that way.
I call it the eternal state of wonderment. Like I'm in wonder. And I love that word.
Love it.
It's one of my favorite words to use because it's not only this curiosity, it's also wonderment, like this enchanted, it's looking at life from this enchanted curiosity, not just like I'm trying to understand. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, let me fully embrace all of it. And one of the values that I hold inside and one of the beliefs that I've shifted myself into is that no part of me is bad or wrong. So to really break out of these molds, if there's any part of you that's living in this, there's some parts of me that are good and there's some parts of me that are bad. And that's trained in such a young age. And I talk about it in the Melt Away course, like down to when, your mother was breastfeeding you and you were able to fully suckle. And it was like, oh, good girl, good boy. And in that moment, your brain is thinking, oh, okay, if I'm good, I'm going to be nurtured. If I'm good, I'm going to receive what I need to survive.
Ooh.
Right.
So
conversely, if I'm bad, I'm not going to be nurtured. If I'm bad, I'm not going to get what I need to survive. Wait. Yeah.
It's really deep. It's so deep inside of people. And then you don't feel worthy, which is why 9 times out of 10, anyone that's doing this work with people in their adult life, we're going back to their childhood and figuring out like, where did you learn that you weren't worthy of having all your needs met here? Every species on this planet, unless humans intervene, has their needs met.
Yeah. That is profound. I mean, you've got to think even the way our brain develops, we're like wide open. So we're suggestible to the nth, like anything that somebody says that goes in there. And then that's what we've got. And then we've got to take the rest of our life to get kicked out of there. Right? It's like, go away, you annoying thing stuck in my head.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
and the
what are the
challenge,
processes? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the challenge with it being picked up so young is that we haven't developed our higher brain waves yet. So it's all going
Ah,
deep into the unconscious. So people
yeah.
could think today, well, I know that there is no good, bad, right, or wrong, yet their body is still operating in this notion of there being a good version of you and a worthy version of you that keeps coming up because it can't be addressed in the consciousness because it was
Mhm.
developed and imprinted into, primarily theta and even delta. If it was when you're baby, you're
Yes.
in delta brainwaves. Like you don't
Mhm.
have the beta alpha flow in to understand. So this is going, and these are core programs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we do? I mean, what are some of your methods up beyond question to get us out and unhooked from some of these unworthy things?
Mhm. So one of the practices that I work with, it's called the Synoptic transpositioning. It's one of the techniques that I was given by a group of guardian beings that I work with. And it
Cool.
really is about allowing ourselves to give space for all versions of ourselves. So what does that look like? Like there's a version of you that's present right now here today.
Mhm.
And that version of you, maybe she's a tired version of you that is a little crampy, right? Maybe she's a really excited and hopeful version. Maybe it's an angry version. Maybe it's something that is totally different that I haven't mentioned, right? There's so many different versions of us. And we learn through life what versions are accepted by other people, what
Mm.
versions are going to keep ourselves safe, what versions are going to maybe potentially give us love, what versions are going to maybe push love away. And the parts of us that we learn aren't safe to be in because we won't have our needs met. And normally it's being loved and accepted as the core need that buries parts of us. Those parts, they stay inside and they create cancer, they create diseases, they create anxiety, they create stress. And it's not just that we get in touch with those parts need to move through our body.
Mm.
So in like parts work, for example, it's just this talking process of getting aware of these parts. But in synoptic transpositioning, we actually give our body over to those parts and
Ah.
let them fully release. So
Mm.
how does it need to speak? What sounds, what tone does it need to express? How does it need to move? A lot of times it's really primal things that people need to do or open or sob while being seen by another person who literally will hold all of it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's so important as for anyone who's facilitating here, my motto is we can only take people as deep as we've gone ourselves, because there will come points where people are going to go into things that if you pull back as a facilitator or it brings up stuff in you as a facilitator, then that's a stopping point. You can't take that person any deeper and they get stuck there moving forward. So
Mhm.
as for anyone listening that are facilitators, like for me, I prioritize my journey at the forefront because I want to be someone that someone comes in and they're liberated in my presence and in my work. And I want to be the person that people are like, oh, this crazy stuff is happening. Like, who can hold this? Who can hold space for this? Primal rage, or the part of me that is in my root chakra that wants to kill someone. Like that part exists.
Yeah.
Like these parts
Mhm.
Yeah.
exist. And they have to be released in a safe space
Yeah.
where someone can witness them and not be afraid of it. Because if they're witnessed by someone that gets afraid, that pulls away, that has subtle judgments come up that may not ever be spoken, but they are felt in their body by you, and you feel it in your body, and you're like, oh, I'm trying to track this part of me that's judging them now while they're trying to have this release. Like, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So through the process, we create that safety and move through and allow these parts to come forward and allow ourselves to be witnessed by someone else who will just simply hold the space in pure love, but also who knows how to evoke us to go deeper. So when I'm doing this, I'll take myself to these journeys because it really is, for me, it's the end all be all of how I move energy out and through. And I'll usually have my partner come and witness me and evoke me. And there's times when I'm like, okay, I'm stuck here. Like I can't get it to go any further, or I start to curl up, because some things that we move through us are going to cause fear. It's going to cause us to maybe freeze or need to fight or freeze. And we have to be able to move through those processes. I think a lot of conditioning has taught us that our nervous system is, again, bad or wrong. Like your fight response is a problem, your freeze response is a problem, your fawn response, it's not a problem. It's nature. It's how our bodies are designed to move. And when we learn how to safely go through those journeys, which we have to do to break ourselves out of being stuck in it, then we can have these full liberation points. So I find that the most effective things are like, they have to be visceral. It has to go through the body. The energy has to have that full wave. That version of you has to have the chance to say what he or she or they need to say, and to express whatever it is that is coming up for them, and to move physically that energy through the body in whatever crazy way it needs to move.
I feel my body going,
Yeah, I know.
My head's just going like this, and I'm like, okay, body, you got something you want to say, huh? You have expressions up here. But it's true. I mean, I literally want to jump and like, yes, yes, yes. And that's just comes from my body. I can already feel it. Just being even acknowledged in that way, because I'm kind of running through my brain and kind of saying, what would you feel like if you had that? Asking my body, how did you get to have that two pieces where you were able to, what would you say to the person that doesn't really know how to discern between their mind and their body yet? Because you clearly can see the two as, even the way that you speak.
Good question.
So there's a practice that I used to do when I was living in LA. And at this time was really, it actually wasn't even me in the body yet, but so weird conversation points. But anyways, the development between the trust, like trust has to be formed between the mind or your consciousness, the sentience of who you are, and the body again. And one way that I found to be really helpful to redevelop that trust is through doing something that's physically challenging for you. So at the time for me, it was running up this flight of stairs, this like exercise, or anytime I was running, because for me, running is not something that I enjoy doing. It's something that brings up a lot of thoughts like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Versus like other exercise like that I love doing, like yoga, right? Not physically going to bring up those same things. So it needs to evoke that mind that wants the body to stop. That's the key. And then when you're doing that thing, you go through this process of basically, I start with my toes and I'm like, I love and trust my toes. Thank you, toes, for carrying me. Thank you, toes, for keeping my body balanced. I wouldn't have life without you. Like my life would be very different without you. And then I move up to my ankle, and then my foot, and then my shin, and then my knee, and then my thigh, and my hips. And I work through every single part of my body that way, with the mind appreciating. And then in the beginning, I'd also say, like, please forgive me for neglecting you. Please forgive me for not realizing how much you've done for me. Please forgive me for treating you poorly. I mean, I treated my body like shit for a really long time. I'm sure I'm probably not alone in that. Most everyone here looks like we were alive in the 90s and the early 2000s when food was terrible. And so, we have better options today, but pop it in the microwave, all these types of things, like not really having a lot of emotional intelligence back then available to us in our education systems. Like we all were just probably bottling stuff up and waiting for it to bubble up. Like,
yeah, I mean, that is how it comes out usually after it's been bubbled up. That you've tried to fight it and you've tried to suppress it and you've tried to put it away. That is how it comes up. It's usually like all of a sudden it just blows out of you.
And that's healthy, right? That is the healthy outpouring of anger or of anything else. And
Mhm.
the more that
I'm
we
glad you said
accept
that. Yep.
accept that inside of ourselves, when I was working through really deep anger, really, really deep-seated anger, and I was getting like network adjustments and all these things that were just bringing up these really deep waves of anger. And I know I have to let this anger out. So I would, maybe yell at my partner or just yell in the space. Or sometimes I would get on the floor and I would literally like bang and kick and scream, have a tantrum. And I had an agreement and still do. I'm still with the same partner. We've been together for many years, that it's never personal about him.
Mm.
Like, it's not about you. If I'm like, but I have
Mhm.
to express this. It has to come out this way, because if it doesn't come out this way, then I'm bottling up that part again. And
Mm.
I'm pretending to show you a certain part of me for what? You to accept me. But if you can't accept this anger that's inside of me, then we shouldn't be together.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
we can't be together if I'm going to be healthy in my future.
Mhm.
Wow, that's profound.
It is.
Nobody does that way. Nobody except for you.
Very few, very few.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
very
I have a
few.
very unique relationship and partnership that we really fought for,
Good.
and communication. Right.
Mhm.
Or
It's so
important rather.
important to
Yeah.
have that communication, have agreements. And maybe it's not your partner that's the person that holds this space for you. Maybe it's a best friend, maybe it's
Sure.
a mentor, maybe it's a parent, but there has to be an agreement that says, look, I'm moving through stuff. I have pain inside of me. I have panic and terror and fear and anger and rage. And there's a part of me that wants to kill you sometimes. These are inside of me. And if I'm gonna heal, seizures or stress or anxiety or
That's what I was
cancer or all
thinking.
these
Mhm.
things, like, you have to let that stuff
Yeah.
out. And if it's not safe to do that where you live with your partner, then that person is keeping you sick.
Yeah, I was just
Ah.
thinking that. That's
Mhm.
what jumped in my mind. I was like, otherwise you go and you bottle yourself up, but then you find yourself with the breast cancer or something has emerged in some other way because it's been so bottled and you couldn't release in the way that you should have been
Mhm.
expressed, should have been allowed to do.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of really deep, anyone who are like, okay, well, I want to create a relationship with someone that can help me to liberate myself in this way. What really worked for us is like continual conversations and agreements, and me constantly being like, this is not about you right now. I have anger raging through me and it needs to be expressed. Please don't take anything I say or do in the next 25 minutes personally. Can you just hold
Yeah.
space for this right now? And if he was a yes, he would stay and hold space. Some days he'd be like, I can't hold space for this right now, because maybe he's emotionally processing.
Sure.
And he would
Mhm.
go and I would go and we would do it on our own. Right. So it's
Mm,
not like they always have to hold space for me. It's like, this is what's
Yeah.
coming up for me. Are you available for this right now?
nice.
No? Cool. But I'm going to take space then and go move this, because I
Mhm.
cannot let this stay inside of me. And, it took years of realizing and building that trust, and continuing then to come out of those experiences and be like, I love and appreciate you so much.
Mm,
Right?
Yeah.
There has to be that validation of like, I love you and care for you so much. Like, thank you for holding the space for me, so that relationship can form a healthy world around itself where you can be present in all versions of yourself. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's funny because, you like to have everything buttoned together and all your ducks in a row and things like that. And when you have that, that's actually more control and worse than somebody that is like, I'm sensing that this emotion's coming on, or I'm gonna, and actually acknowledging the emotion instead of going, nope, I'm fine. I mean, there's truly a vulnerability in that and a gift in that. And Thank you for sharing that, because now I feel like I need to do a little more expression in that way too. Because we try to like put up our best face always.
Yeah.
Even within our household. I know I do for my daughter and my husband. And it's like, I don't want them to feel like they're around somebody that's broken, which is that wrongness and that unworthiness that we talked about at the beginning. See, it just like sneaks in there, like when you don't even think so. Mhm.
Yeah, we get real here. Wow. Yeah. I immediately was thinking about my own circumstances and how I'm like, dang, I know I know I suppressed that, or I know I probably should have expressed that more. And then it looks like, how do I address that going forward? How do you address that going forward? How do you ask your partner to start to step into this space with you? If that's even the person that you'd want to. I mean, it sounds like you have had great conversation. Yeah.
So in the beginning, there has to be an understanding inside of yourself where you truly know all parts of me are welcome and worthy. Because if you don't have that agreement with yourself, then you can't expect your partner to have that agreement with you, or a friend, or anyone around you. Because they're going to be meeting you in the same agreements that you've met yourself with. So at the core, it is developing that inner relationship with yourself that is, all parts of me are worthy. All parts of me are worthy of love. All parts of me are worthy of being seen. All parts of me are worthy of expression and of having a voice. And there is no part of me that is bad or wrong or unworthy. And once you have that relationship with yourself, and that can be developed in front of a mirror, right? Seeing yourself in these different versions, and, while you are maybe crying, cry in front of a mirror. While you're angry, be angry in front of a mirror. While you're panicking or anxious, like, do it in front of a mirror and let that connect with your eyes, and tell that part of you that you can see through your eyes, like, I love you. I'm so sorry that I have abandoned you, or felt that you were not worthy, or have neglected you. Like, please forgive me. I vow to be different now. Right? And develop that relationship with yourself, so that when you go to your partner or your friend or whoever, a business partner potentially, right? Because you're doing business with someone, that's a deep union. That, hey, I am working in myself to forgive the parts of myself that I have felt were unworthy, and to accept these parts, and to work through this stuff. And that has looked like, for me, needing to feel it and express it and see it and bring it to the surface. And I would love to have a relationship that felt safe for me to express those parts as well. And I'm curious if you're open to that. Right? And then give examples of what that would look like. The most important thing is that you always express, just know that nothing that comes through in this period is personal. So I'll always verbalize, because I also find that not attaching and identifying with the emotion is really helpful. I'll say, anger is coming up inside of me right now. Not I am anger. Like, anger is coming up inside of me. And it needs to be expressed right now. So know that I'm going to go and scream and shout and kick and maybe do some air punches. And I'm going to do my best to not say anything about you, my partner, in that moment. To not be like, oh, well, you did this or that. Like, the moment that you start projecting it onto the other person, they're going to be like, whoa, I don't think I want to hold space for this. Or it's going to cause conflict. And, we had to learn to not do that through trial and error, and reflecting back to each other in moments like, hey, I think in this moment, that anger was coming at me in a way where I didn't feel safe anymore. Right? So I had to check in, okay, why did I just lash out at him instead of just moving the energy?
Interesting.
Well, I find that this is kind of a dual-sided conversation, because you got to think your body is kind of the animal. Like, I'll lay down to meditate, and will often go restless for a while. And I got to go, come on, body, you get on board here. And I got to take it back in and go, okay, I don't know why you have this need to be restless right now, but can we just like settle down? And then suddenly I'll like feel my body relaxing. Like I actually do have, this sense where my mind can control the body instead of my body being its own mind.
I see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So after you get triggered and you need to throw some air punches and really let the body physically express, do you start to get curious about, what really was going on underneath that required that body to take that action?
So when it's emotion, right, there's some part of us that becomes magnetic to certain energies. So if we just understand it from, you know me, ladies, like I'm like, let's understand the mechanics.
Yes.
So if some emotion, which is an energy in motion, is drawn through me, I become magnetic to it. So I'm magnetizing that energy in. What inside of me became magnetic to that. And you'll notice that as you do this, if you really take the time, like let's say someone comments on your Facebook post and it triggers the fuck out of you, and you're like, I'm gonna just go and lightning blazing, comment back. If instead you think, why did that just really trigger this part of me to come up? Like, what is there inside of me? The more you do that, it's very rare that I feel anger anymore.
Nice.
Like people can say crazy things to me on the internet, and they do, because I say a lot of really crazy things on the internet that gets people to like come out of the woodworks and troll.
Everyone.
Like that used to really bother me. Now I just am like, it doesn't even faze me. Like it very little takes me out of my zone, which is joy. Very little takes me out of joy. So I feel that everyone has a baseline emotion that your blood naturally vibrates at. Right? And so for someone that might be joy, it might be peace, it might be ease, it might be glee, it might be exuberant, right? There's so many different emotions that could be, that is a higher vibration that is healthy for your body to be naturally vibrating in. And then we also have ones that we're more prone to, that are not healthy for our body to be holding on to, that we will lean towards. Maybe that's grief or sadness or panic or depression. That when we are vibrating in that predominantly, it's going to cause dis-ease in our body. So we want to find, what's my baseline when I am most myself? That is my healthy, vibrant baseline. For me, it's joy. I feel most myself naturally, and I'm in joy. When I'm in a state of unhealth and dis-ease, my baseline is actually going to steer more towards panic. Like that's where my body will vibrate most with panic if things get off alignment. So when we understand, like, this is why knowing yourself is really the secret path to mastery. Like, if you don't investigate why these things are coming up, you're never going to figure out, like, what is my baseline? When do I feel most myself? Where do I reside at all times when I'm in a state of health or when I'm in a state of dis-ease? Like, what is that vibration? And there is no right or wrong version of health or version of dis-ease, right? Peace isn't better than joy. Joy isn't better than ease. Ease isn't better than happiness. Like, I just have a lot of heart fire in my meridians, and heart fire beings, they tend to carry a lot of joy. If that's, and they'll also carry a lot of panic if there's too much heart fire, right? So it leads into, it really comes down to your constitution. Do you have more fire? Do you have more water? Are you more wood? Are you more earth or air or metal? And those will be what you discover in your body, and as you move your body, and it can be seen in your zodiac and all these other places that help you find, as you uncover, you'll get to a point where you come out of these states and you feel a certain way. When you come out of your process, how do you feel? Right? What
Yeah.
is the first thing that you feel? Do you feel deep ease? Do you feel deep calm? Do you feel joy? Do you feel peace? Like that's going to most likely be one of your core baseline energies
Hmm.
that you come back to once you've unraveled all the stuff. You're usually going to come back to your baseline of health. And that's one way that you can figure out, like, what is my baseline of health, energetically speaking. I
And
always
how to
enjoy.
raise your baseline, right? I mean, that literally this weekend, I got a channeled message that said, you need to be careful because I'm addicted to the hormones of stress, basically. Like, I'm actually like to feel under pressure and frustrated and challenged because it moves me
I was
forward,
gonna say,
right?
it's probably, that's how you
I
flip
I don't want it
modus
anymore.
operandi. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
horrendous.
right? I mean, that's my state, right? But I would like to be more in that. Well,
Joy.
I am in a lot of joy, but I do feel like it'd be nice if I could, approach things, especially with more patience and presence for sure.
So in the money meridian system and in the wealth wellness wheel, that would be the desire section. And
Mhm.
basically, we want to understand what part of me desires, because that's a desire. I desire stress hormones, right? Like some part of me
Mhm.
finds that pleasurable. For
Yeah.
me, I desired pain for a really long time. And I finally got in touch with the part of me that believed pain equaled life. And if you weren't feeling pain, then how do you know you're alive? So
Yes.
it
And there are,
craves
yeah.
pain.
Yeah, it's kind of like that song. It's like I cut myself to know that I was still alive, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those really dark messages, but there is a ounce of truth in that too, that I think a lot of people may overlook.
And there's pleasure in certain pains.
Mhm.
As much as we don't like to say that.
And when I was younger and I was dating, there was almost a sense of like, there was this, chasing like pain, like, oh, does he love me? Like, let me just throw something out there to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, and break it all up and see what happens to see, how much will someone fight for me, right? So it was almost like, let's cause this infliction, if you will.
Oh, God.
So there's
Right.
a process called the existential kink process. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with it. I can't remember the woman's name right now. It's just existential kink. And that
Oh,
process is really about allowing yourself to experience the pleasure of what you have previously been maybe damning yourself for or judging yourself for. Like it could be a pattern that's showing up in your life that you're like, man, I hate this pattern. Like, I want this pattern to stop. Like, why am I doing this crazy thing? It's clearly not helping me in any
yeah,
way. But there's a part of you, because we have
sure.
to get to that point where I am the creator. I'm responsible for everything I'm creating. And as the creator, I only create what I want, what I'm desiring. So some part of me is desiring this toxic relationship
Yes.
or desiring this chronic pain or desiring this excessive cortisol.
Yeah.
And because it's a desire, that means there's pleasure. It's getting pleasure for some reason around it. So I can give a very tangible experience from my own life that maybe will help understand this process a little bit more. So I was, for many years, my partner had to take full-time care of me because I couldn't drive, I couldn't go to the grocery store, I couldn't do a lot of functions. He'd have to help me go to the bathroom, all these types of stuff. And after that, when I regained my function, there was a period where I was like still recreating these various different things. And I sat with this process of why am I getting so like what part of me is deeply desiring this? And the part of me that was deeply desiring it was actually a part of me that wanted to be taken care of by men. But that wasn't getting that because I was raised really highly independent.
Sure.
I provide for myself financially completely. I'm actually probably the breadwinner in our relationship dynamic. And so through my disease, I would be provided for and cared for. And so I let myself experience the pleasure and work with I was like, I actually just want you to take care of me. Like, can you just drive me to the store without me having to like lose my sight for that to be needed? Like, but it's allowing ourselves to experience like what is at the core of why I'm actually desiring this.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of benefits on being sick, right? Or saying that you're sick, even if you're just saying it. I had nerve pain in my leg for well over a year, and my husband, I couldn't walk anywhere, right? I couldn't even make it to the bathroom without crutches, and I did. It took me a while to even ask for him, hey, can you get me a cup of water and things like that, and but I did realize once he started taking care of me, I actually did really like it. I really like that nurtured, pampered. I can't do anything, can't go anywhere, can't exercise, because it was just nice. I just wanted to rest, and
Interesting.
yeah, I did realize that. And when I actually came around to it, I was like, no, I don't want to rest anymore. I want to run. And things did start to heal when I really came around to that.
Interesting.
Like, I want to move. I want to go.
Yeah. And a lot of like collectively, there's a few core collective wounds that are creating a lot of disease on this planet. And you spoke to one of them, which is our ability or not to ask for help.
Yeah.
And
I know.
Yeah.
I do that. Like, I'm like,
No, I'm good. Yeah, you're like, I'm good.
Independent sometimes, and raising my hand to ask for help had been hard. I'm getting better at it.
And it's really about connecting us back into union and unity, where we are unified in our wholeness. And there was this time in my business where this was many years ago, before I was not feeling well, that my partner was doing really well. We were traveling and my business was struggling. And there was an investment I wanted to make and a mentor. And I was like, I don't have the money for this. My partner's like, let me pay for this. And I was like, no, oh my gosh, like I couldn't even imagine you paying for this, right? Up at that point, I was like so anti receiving help from anyone, even when they're generously. And we were actually at a hot spring, and we sat in this hot springs for hours as he was like, there's only one of us here. Like, it's not my money that you're taking, it's our money.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah, it's a contribution.
But it wasn't from that standpoint. It was from like, it's all share. We're all connected. We're all in this together.
The oneness
I love
of
that.
us.
Even more so, especially with everyone's work is important, but especially because I see that, you had such a big message for us. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, this is big.
In the health space then, like I know for me in the beginning, like I'd been the healer for everyone else in my life, basically since the time I was a child.
Me too.
Of course, all these things like constantly. So then when all my shit got put away, because I had to constantly be taking care of everyone else. So when it was able to fully come up, mainly because I had a safe environment for it to come up, which was really important. We will bottle things up until we have safety around us. And that could be a person, that could be a new place that you move to, that is energetically, maybe you had roommates before or whatever, that will actually allow you to progress. Then it will all start coming to the surface. And at that moment, we will be tested. Are we going to ask for the help that we need? Are we going to let other people take care of us? And I always tell people, don't let it get so extreme that you literally can't function without another human being to learn this lesson, that humanity is genuinely a kind-hearted species. And I know that it can be hard to feel that at all times because there's a lot of really crazy things happening in the world right now. And our brains are programmed to prioritize the negative because
Yeah.
that's a survival mechanism. So it's just
Yeah.
what they look for. And our brains don't look for the benevolent. They don't look for the positive. And then media, advertising, it plays on your problem consciousness. So we're constantly seeing like people not showing up for other people hurting animals, terrible things happening in the world. So then when something comes up inside of us and we need help, we're like, can I trust humanity to help me? Can I trust these people are going to show up and care for me? Can I trust that someone's going to stay with me when I'm now incapacitated and they have to take care of me if I fully let them see the situation that I'm in? And, you know, for me, my partner had to drive me to everywhere for 4 years. And asking him to then take me, like, for a while, it was, okay, well, he'll take me to my, you know, practitioners and my acupuncture and my doctors and the places that I have to go to get through this. But what if I want to get my nails done? I
See,
would
I would be like, I don't know if I
ask.
could ask.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask because at first I was like, I got comfortable with him showing up because this is what I need to survive. And he
Yeah.
said, I'm with you to see you through this. I will not
Yeah.
leave you. I will be with you through this.
Mm.
Then it came to the point where I was like, well, I'd like to go get my hair done. Like, I'd like to get my nails done. Like, and I feel this closing down inside of myself around asking.
Yes.
Right.
Oh.
Well,
So the
and there's
practice
a
was,
wrongness around
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Again, like that's how it comes up. I think it's very important that
That's
we
so crazy.
share that.
Yeah.
But it's like, well,
Yeah.
why have we concluded that those things are a wrongness? And that somebody who really cares for us is going out of their way, you know, like I know my husband, if I would say, honey, I'd really like to get a pedicure, you know, while my leg was, you know, that way, he would love to take me. Like it wouldn't even have been like a second thought. It wouldn't have been like a burden on him. But in my world, I've made myself a burden for it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Especially for a longer
big
duration of time.
Right. Yeah.
I would have, yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's 4 years going on and you need it like every 6 weeks.
Right.
Because your nails every 3.
It's important. I mean, seriously,
It
getting your
makes
hair
us
did.
feel like
Yes,
us.
it does.
You know?
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the
coming
last
back,
thing you know.
coming
I was
back to
gonna
this
say,
conversation about money, then, if we feel like we can ask for what we need when we need it, yet we can't ask for what we desire just because we desire it and it may be frivolous, well, then how are we going to hold a surplus of money?
Right.
Love you.
We're not.
Yeah.
We're not gonna.
No, no.
I got some
So
stuff
working
like
through that burden is
I
a big
feel
one.
like I know that we should move on with this conversation, but I do want to introduce kind of another dimension to it because, you know, when we were talking about emotions and dealing with rage and things like that, you said, you know, well, we're not always, you know, it's kind of like there's different dimensions to us, you know, and I guess in the field of possibilities, there's also that field where we could have a pure, clear, healthier body or rejuvenated body or however we want to look at it. How do you see kind of walking into a different dimension of yourself that is just a possibility?
Oh, that's a good question.
So the question I'm hearing is like almost these conversations about like moving to a different timeline and things like that, where you are saying, okay, there is this version of me that is available and possible. I'm not living it right now.
Right.
Right. So what I do in those experiences is there is a few things actually. One is I understand what the gap is. So I call this walking through thresholds. So, okay, let's create an example. We're working in the world of health. And so the example could be there's a version of me that's getting super triggered every time my partner like loads the dishwasher wrong. And it makes me really angry. And then there's super basic stuff. and
Mhm.
I snap at him, and then I'll snap at him for the rest of the day. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, that didn't feel good. Like all right. And then there's this other version of me that doesn't care, right? It just doesn't
Yeah.
matter. If he loads the dishwasher in a weird way, I just go and reorganize it. And
Or
don't
you
make
just
him
wash the
wrong.
dishes and don't care.
Exactly. All the things. My Virgo rising is like, let me perfectly organize this dishwasher for maximum energetic efficiency and not wasting water and
Let's get all
power.
the dishes in there. We'll figure it out. I have a
And
little
that
bit of
will
that too.
probably not change. And it doesn't mean that someone else has to be wrong in
Mhm.
order for me to reorganize it, right? So it's like this totally different reality. So that would be my new possibility in this example. So what would the gap be, right? The gap in that experience is this space where what is not happening is in the gap. So what's not happening is I'm not showing up in a way that is peaceful and loving and kind, right? So the gap is emotional in that scenario, right? It's an emotional
Mhm.
gap. And in the gap, I'm currently projecting a lot of anger. So I need to do a few things. One, I need to move that anger out of my body because I'm not going to be able to shift into a different possibility if I'm running the frequency of the current one consistently through my body, right? It's just not going to happen.
Mhm.
This is just energetic laws, right? We are creating what we're vibrating at. So I need to understand what the emotional gap is and process that through my body and release that through my body. Then the other piece is, well, maybe there are things that I need to learn as well. Maybe I need to learn nonviolent communication, right? That could be something else in the gap. So I'm going to get my mind on board. I've got my emotional body on board. Now I'm going to get my mind on board by going and listening to podcasts about nonviolent communication, finding books, finding people on Instagram who talk about nonviolent communication. And I'm going to start filling my mind and my brain with information that is going to help me close that gap. Because maybe
Mhm.
I'm going to be honest with myself and I don't know how to respond differently in that moment. Right. And that's like the humility that we learn in life. I don't actually know how to do different because I haven't done different, but there's a version of me that knows how to do different. So what did she do? Well, she learned nonviolent communication. She learned how
Mhm.
to release her anger. So I'm going to go and do those things. I'm going to learn
Uh-huh.
nonviolent communication. I'm going to move my anger. But if you don't know what's happening in the gap, then you don't know where to focus your energy.
Got
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah.
Right?
So
So
if the gap
understand
is
that gap.
something like shoulder pain, right? Say you have like a pain in your body, but you
Mhm.
feel like there's a possibility in the field for there no pain in the body,
Mhm.
would then like how can you kind of give us an example for
Mhm.
that
Yep.
kind of situation, like a
Yeah.
physical thing?
So I would ask you, do you know when you get shoulder pain the most? When is your shoulder pain most intense? And I would have you start tracking that because chances are there's something emotionally or environmentally or something that's triggering the pain because the pain is probably not a 10 at all times, right? No pain is
Yeah.
constantly 24/7 a 10. Sometimes it may be a 5, sometimes it may be a 0, sometimes it may be a 55, right? On
Mm-hmm.
that 10 scale. So understand what's actually making the pain really intense because that's going to inform what's in the gap. Maybe there
Uh-huh.
is, you realize, my pain is a 10 when I'm in my bathroom. And you're like, okay, so it's environmental.
The frequency.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So if it's constantly
Uh-huh.
happening in a certain location, then you know it's going to be environmental and you're going to look for, is there mold here? Right? Is
Mm.
there something off energetically in the space? Do I go into the space and there's maybe a photo that is there that actually triggers something in me, a
Mm.
unresolved conflict with a family member that maybe feels fine, but some part of you is like, no, that's unresolved. Like what's in that space? Now, maybe it's not environmental. Maybe you realize, oh, when I eat this thing, the pain
Mm-hmm.
is much worse. So in that situation, we got to figure out what the gap is by understanding what's actually making the pain more extreme. And then
Mm-hmm.
also what is helping to alleviate it. Not when I take an Aleve that numbs it, because that's not
Yeah,
a
that doesn't
solution.
count.
That doesn't
Right? That's
count.
hiding
That's an
it. Yeah.
artificial.
Yeah.
right? But maybe when I'm being grateful,
Mhm.
I
and maybe
forget.
when I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, when I'm being grateful and I'm in my gratitude practice, or when I'm praying, or when I'm meditating, I actually realize that pain isn't there, right? So we would say, okay, then in the gap, let's say it's the environmental one. Maybe I
Mhm.
need to now do a mold test and do a test on my plumbing. Maybe there's something going on in that bathroom that's triggering the pain environmentally. Maybe there is something I need to research the products that I'm using in my bathroom, a chemical that's in one of them, right? So if it's environmental, we really look to the environment, and that's the education stage. I would need to educate myself on, how do I get a mold test? Like,
Mhm.
what are these products that are in my shampoo and my conditioner and my soap and my toothpaste, like that, any other product that you'd be using. And then if there happened to be a picture in there of, maybe a family member that you have some unresolved pain towards, or
Mhm.
that a lot of times long-term chronic pain will show up in our parents as well as in ourselves. Or if it's in the left side of our body, it's going to be related to our mom. If it's the right side of our body, it's going to be related to our dad. Is there anything in this environment that triggers a memory of my mother or of my father,
Mhm.
depending on what side of the body it's on? So then I could say, let's just use this example that it's on my left side of my body, and there is a perfume in my bathroom that my mother gave me. And
Mhm.
anytime I'm actually putting this perfume on, my pain is getting worse.
Wow.
But you wouldn't connect that
No.
No,
I
unless
would have
you,
been like, maybe it's when I wash my hair and I do
I
like
know. It's
this
like I'm
little.
doing something.
But
is you
immediately,
Yeah, like,
track. You got to track
uh-huh.
the environment,
yeah.
track what's in that gap. So this is where we get
Huh.
really curious, and you can do
Love
it for
this.
anything. And then I would
Mhm.
say, this example, what's unresolved with my mom,
Ooh, yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
What
My
emotion
goodness.
is there?
Wow.
And then you
Right?
process that.
Now I'm really curious.
Interesting.
I better do some tracking for sure. I
I
need to find
know.
those gaps.
I'm kind of interested
But
too.
and actually, it's super empowering. And I always come back to that. I feel like I say this so many times on this show, but when we find and we can uncover those things, then we then put that power right back in our own hands and say, okay, now I know how to address this, and
Yeah.
now I know how to move forward. Like, but we don't unless we have the more information and the education in the place that you said where you find the gap.
Yeah.
That's fascinating too.
I know. I feel like there could be a lot of components, like somebody who has something chronic or
Girl, we
autoimmune
could
or
spend all kinds of time learning from you.
I know. We will definitely have her back.
Oh
Let's
my
talk
gosh.
about the package though.
No.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Well, thank you for everything that you have either endured or done and triumphed through to be able to share these messages with us. I know
Yeah.
it's so
Because it's so different than what a lot of people talk about too. I mean, I think some of it can be similar from where, their educated thought, but this is, you know,
and look at your cutie pictures. I
I
love it so much.
know.
And your dress today too. I was like, oh, that's super cute. But super fun. I mean, yes, it's a great way to kind of have the marketing be all cute and like the melts away, looks super juicy. But underlying it all, these are these big things that we're tackling here.
Huge things.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like talk about some packages are life-changing, right, in this series. And, I do think that your work is life-changing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and
Wrapped
it
up
could
in
be
joy.
so, right, wrapped up in joy.
I love
the
it so
package
much.
with a bow.
I love it so much.
Yeah, I really do feel that sometimes somebody can just say like one sentence and your whole life can change
Yeah.
and a door can open. I really feel like you're kind of that person that just keeps saying these ongoing
Yeah.
sentences and we're like, a heart, open, open, open. And it's really
I
great.
got at least 4 or 5 of them today. I mean, you saw me with
Yeah,
my
yeah.
pen and paper out. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, gotta.
This isn't a humongous package, you guys, but this is a detailed package. A hum note, will you take us through here what's in this melt away course?
Mhm. So when you come into this particular course, you're going to first understand really, why does our mind go to these places of feeling unworthy. Like, what is going on in our body, what's going on in our biology, what's going on emotionally that creates this dysfunction, and feeling unworthy and feeling, like you're not enough and that things aren't going to work out for you, or you're not going to be able to heal this or make more money or do these things, right? This is all coming down to feeling unworthy. And this is a dysfunction that we learn from our environment, we learn from the people around us, we learn from how we were raised. And so we really understand that at the core and kind of the first part of this training. And then you move into the actual journey. So you go through a rapid resolution hypnotic process where you're going to walk through and be guided through really a journey of reclaiming your worthiness, a journey of shifting any part of you that feels unworthy, that doesn't feel like it's enough, or it can show up and have your needs be met and be worthy of claiming your desires and, asking to go get your nails done and all the things that you want to do with your life and feeling really empowered in that. And that is 2 parts. So I actually have it, guided through in the video. And then I made a separate audio so that you can go back and re-listen and go through that hypnotic process as much as you want. Say you come up to something in your business and you're like, whoa, I'm hitting a block here now. Go back through that journey and now take that deeper in there. And I actually added in a secondary bonus that's not originally part of this Melt Away course outside of this, which is the everything is exactly as it should be. So this training really dials in on a lot of the guilt and shame energies that are a lot of times at the core of feeling unworthy. And that could be examples of maybe moments in your life where you took on a lot of debt, or you had to file bankruptcy, or you made a decision about your finances that ended up creating a lot of stress in your life. And you were like, oh, if I just would have done it differently, or if I just could have done it that way, or I should have done it this way. And this continues to create this field in our lives that we're not enough. So I added this in as a bonus because it is another rapid resolution hypnotic process that specifically dials in on helping us release the shame, blame, and guilt that, because I know everyone in this realm that's going to be here listening are interested in money and success and really tapping in and thriving in your life. I put that in to just go deeper in this process of really shifting these things. And this journey is really incredibly profound. It will likely create very visceral shifts in your body. I had one woman go through it and she messaged me the next day. She's like, my whole body is in hives because she purged out this really deep part of herself that was like so ashamed of a lot of things in her relationship with money. And then a couple months later, she messages me. She's like, I just got this brand new job. I'm going to have financial security, like all these things that she hadn't had in a decade before as a result of releasing this energy of shame and unworthiness from her body. So it's really, really juicy and really delicious. And I'm using those languages because I'm using a lot of honey as this like melt away kind of core
Love
wound.
the honey.
Yeah.
And the testimonials are, I mean, they're almost exactly what I'm just saying. I mean, this talk about this, like really, you can't put a price on personal transformation.
Right.
Some of the guests on here are really,
Yeah.
amazing.
And
And so I'm going to put this in the chat, and yeah, and if it calls to you, then it's it's for you,
choose it.
right?
And you have to know that Hypnotic comes from this really deep place of knowing. Like we said, every time she speaks, like there's so many takeaways. Like you got to know that this package is going to be filled with so many more gems than we could have even shared here today. So, I mean, it's just like, wow.
Yeah, thank you. My gosh. And I just think every time that we have a show with you, it's just so enlightening.
Yeah.
And it, this seems like simple work. And then we have these conversations about the gap, as you put it, and the way that you explain things. It just allows us to really receive them, I think, because I think sometimes when you're having especially a strong emotion like anger, and you just are like, I am it, and when I have a conversation with you, it's sort of like, my body's just processing through this. My body's experiencing it. And it's really beautiful to look at life that way instead of life like, I am this now, and I'm mad at myself that I am this. And, and it can be quite the beautiful experience where, Dana said, very user friendly explanation.
There you go.
That's
that
perfect.
lands,
I
right?
know.
It has this really beautiful way of landing. Yes.
Yeah.
And gives you permission to be okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah, bodies do this.
Yes.
It just needs to be expressed and maybe questioned and explored.
I'm actually excited to go and kind
and
of like
practice
yes,
this stuff.
yeah, I really am.
I
Yeah,
am too.
to explore some stuff.
Kind of like going to be walking around with a journal attached to me. It's like, do I have any pain in my body? Is my neck tight? Where am I in the house? What is going on? What just happened? What happened in the business? Somebody text me, and I'm excited to look into it.
Absolutely. And to just kind of share like something to look forward to in this journey is there's a lot of scientific study now that actually shows that emotion, when we have a healthy relationship with our emotions and we're not backlogged, an emotional wave will just last 90 seconds.
Wow.
So that's it. That being said, if we have a tremendous amount of backlogged of anger, when an emotion of anger will come through, it will bubble up to the surface, some of that backlog, because it's vibrating with it. And maybe we stay angry for like 5 hours because we're actually processing and releasing. But once you've emptied the backlog, you will experience this 90-second wave. And then you can be that observer that's like, okay.
Nice.
This morning I was teaching I do work with horses as well. And I was teaching this woman who had a lot of anxiety about riding for her first time and working with the horse. And I felt, I'm in tune with a lot of things, and I felt that anxiety wave, and I felt it come through my body. And instead of me being like, oh, I'm anxious and everything, I was like, oh, look, there's anxiety. Let's let this roll and 90 seconds gone. Because I didn't attach to it or anything. I just let it move its heat through my body. And then I checked in with her because I knew that for me, I wasn't anxious. So I checked in with the other woman, like, hey, how are you feeling about the start of this journey? She's like, I'm a little anxious. I'm like, of course you are. I just felt that wave, and let me help you release it yourself, to feel more safe and secure with this experience.
Nice.
And then did she just kind of like explode energetically? Is that how you approach that then?
I approached it a little bit differently when there's horses involved, because I do equine therapy, and horses can be really powerful catalysts, and they'll run a lot of energy as well too. So in that scenario, I actually ran the energy through my body because I wanted the horse to be secure.
Yes, that makes sense.
It's just different in that environment. I can take on and run certain energy through my body so that the other person doesn't have to, but I instead verbally affirmed, and I gave more instruction for her to feel more secure.
Wow.
Just a different environment.
Cool. Sure.
Yeah, no, that's cool and great. I love it. Wow. You guys, if you are looking for the package and you're watching this on replay, it's either in the caption on YouTube or in the special offer links in the email, or in the big special offer links on the listen page.
And if you can't find it, always team@healthhustle.com. Hamna, do you have any like parting words for us, or any lasting thoughts that you'd like us to take away from today?
You're all perfect. All parts of you are welcome. Every single part of you is worthy of love. Thank you for letting me be on this show and for So much love. I'm going to tune into all the comments that came through.
Yes,
Well,
receive
thank
them all. They're
you.
so beautiful for you. Many people say thank you for the information. Very user-friendly explanation. There's no doubt I'm doing this one. So fascinating, brilliant. Thank you for B with a B-E-E, being you. Oh, it's so pretty, so pretty. I think that's for the honey. That was cute. That was cute. I saw that. I got that person. And then just many pure authenticity. So much love. Yay.
Yeah. We even like your pink mic.
I know. So cool.
Have a theme.
Yeah, no, and I love your theme. In fact, I'm like going all in the pink lately too. Yeah, it's coming back. I kind of had that in the 80s, like I think kind of maybe in high school, I wanted to wear pink all the time, and then I went through the unpink phase, and now I'm kind of wanting the pink back again.
Nice.
It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
everybody.
That was so amazing. Oh my gosh, thank you. And we will hopefully have you on again someday
Oh, for
soon.
sure. If you'll have us back, yes, we'll definitely have you.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Would love to
Thank
come
you.
back. Thank you, everyone.
Fabulous. Bye, everyone. And
And
well,
everyone
just a
today.
couple, do you have
Yep.
announcements here before we wrap?
Yes, so we still have our Instagram challenge, like you were saying
Yeah.
challenge, but it's basically everyone that comments.
We're sending you some digital gifts this week, and I will DM you, and I'm still behind on some, by the way. So don't stress out.
Yes.
We're just a little backlogged, and we will get it by the end of the summit for
Yes,
sure.
for sure. So basically every comment, everyone wins, and then you'll be entered in for a drawing where I am giving away two full Akashic readings for 2 lucky winners. The thing is we get started tomorrow. Who do we have?
Yeah.
We have Jonathan.
Yes, we have Jonathan,
We have
who
Kat.
talks about the journey into past
That'll
lives.
be so interesting, y'all. I love talking about this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's how I got into what I do today.
Yeah. And we have Kat Schwartz,
Mhm.
who we met at the Blocks
Yes,
when we
she's a
were
fellow
doing that
Bloxer.
reality show. And she's very, very articulate and really talks about trauma and her wrongness with going to psychotherapy and how that actually did the reverse for her. And she had to like come out of it going like, what the fuck am I? And why am I like so awfully contracted? And she's really on a movement
Mhm.
to get this, to change this world. So I've never interviewed her. I'm assuming she's great, just had some real world conversations with her. So she'll be on tomorrow as
Yes.
well. And I think you're going to love her.
Yeah, it should be fun. So the blocks will air, we don't know the exact dates, but it is in early 2025, and we anticipate will be February 2025.
Yeah. I was thinking they were saying more like April, but
Okay, it could be April.
yeah.
Let me just put it out there for you because it did seem like that's how they roll those out,
Yeah,
and we are at the mercy of the taping and the release. So
yeah. So
it'll be exciting.
it's going to be a little bit.
It'll come faster than we know.
I know, but it'll be exciting.
But we'll talk with her tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll probably talk a little bit about
Of
that show
course.
too, because
Yes.
it was quite the cool experience. We're also bringing somebody in that has a skincare brand
Yes.
that we met, but we're waiting until after the summit. But she's right here in Austin,
Yeah.
and it's kind of really fascinating. She travels like globally, like all the time, and she touches and feels and experiences different things, and she's crafting this product line based on like salts from Morocco and stuff like that she's curated. So it will be quite a cool conversation, and that will be in later October. But we're just keeping this going this time.
That's right.
And
then we also have Kat Howe on October 8th. That'll be a big show. It'll be a longer show that day. We'll get started, and Jennifer and I will kick it off, and then we'll have her on at noon that day. So we'll have a 2-part. It'll be really cool. I hope you find her fascinating. She deals with magic and money. So this
Money
would be
and
really cool.
Magic.
If you haven't heard of her, look her up. She's really, really fun. We've been chasing her down for a while.
A year.
Yeah. And I've done
And
her
she actually
program.
had bought her program years ago.
Yes. Even before Jeneth even knew that I had bought her program.
Yeah.
She goes, "Are you familiar with her?" And I go, "Yeah, I bought her program." And I went through it and it was like really fascinating.
Yeah,
She
she's
talked
good.
so non-bullshit. Like she just in there.
She talked dragons with
Yes,
me,
yes.
and yeah,
She's cool, man.
yeah.
I think you're gonna really enjoy the show. Like I said, it'll be more of a special that day. So it'll be October 8th. That date? Yeah, October 8th. And then Dana says it's 111. Woo! And Magic is her favorite.
It's very like 211 here, and my tummy is saying 211.
Let's go. Well, everyone, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's keep this party rolling. Love